Councillor Keith Whallam, and I'm chairing the meeting today. May I first of all remind you of some domestic arrangements. Please ensure that microphones are turned off when not in use. Don't interrupt other speakers. If you are attending the meeting to speak and persistently interrupt the meeting, you may be asked to leave. Keith Whallam, please ensure your mobile phones are on silent or switched off. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole of the meeting will be filmed, except where there are confidential or exempt items. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed by the council to have consented to being filmed. By entering this meeting as a speaker, you are also consenting to being recorded by the council and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and or training purposes. The council, members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast or broadcast this meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded. So by way of introductions, we have one officer who will be attending to speak today, and that is Samantha Lake, who is the Corporate Manager for Customer Services. So can I move to the agenda, please? Apologies for absence and substitutions. I'll now ask the Governance Officer to roll call for the members present.
Yes, Chair. I will be roll calling in alphabetic order, and can you please answer with present? Councillor Dawson.
Present.
We have received an apology from Councillor Gould. Councillor Grandin.
Present.
Councillor McCraw.
Present.
Councillor McLaren.
Present.
Councillor Osborne.
Present.
Councillor Carter.
Present.
Councillor Haddingham.
Present.
Councillor Muller.
Present.
Councillor Scarf.
Present.
Councillor Whallam.
Present.
And I will just be checking in. Councillor Kirsten, are you here? No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We now receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest by members. Are there any to declare? None? Thank you. Can we now turn to the minutes of the meeting held on 27th of June? Can we confirm the minutes of that meeting, of the joint overview and scrutiny meeting, the meeting held on the 22nd of June 2020? That's agenda item 3. There are 2 amendments to add. In paragraph 4220, to add, Councillor Grandin asked the following questions, and the bit to add is which had been forwarded to her from a constituent. And in paragraph 4239, to add, in relation to how the income from SIFCO supported Gateway 14. And then a full stop, and delete the word and. Does anyone else have any other points on the minutes, the accuracy of the minutes, please? I see head shaking. So that, as there are none, could I have a proposer that we accept the minutes, please? Councillor Laviningham has proposed, and Councillor Muller, I think, has seconded.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. So can we now, we'll have a roll call in respect of whether or not we can accept those minutes. So roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask you please to reply with for, against or abstain? Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Dawson.
For.
Councillor Grandin.
For.
Councillor Haddingham.
For.
Councillor McCraw. Councillor McCraw. Okay, I will turn to Councillor McCraw in a minute. Councillor McLaren,
4.
Councillor Muller,
4.
Councillor Osborne,
4.
Councillor Scarf,
4.
Councillor Wellham.
4.
Councillor McCraw, can you hear me?
I can now. I'm for the motion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's carried.
Thank you very much. So the minutes of the meeting have been confirmed and they will be signed at the next practicable opportunity. We now turn to item 4, which is to receive notifications of petitions in accordance with the Council's petition scheme. Do we have any petitions?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any questions by the public?
None received.
And then on to item 6, do we have questions from councillors?
None received, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now move to agenda item 7, which is the joint compliments, comments and complaints policy. And I'd now like to invite Samantha Lake, the Corporate Manager for Customer Services, to present the update to members on the compliments, complaints and comments processes and policy, please.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll just now share my screen as I will be taking you through a presentation this morning. I'll just give that a moment to load. Hopefully now everyone can see my screen. So this morning I'll be providing you with more of an update, and it's specifically not just focused on the compliments, comments and complaints policy, but also more broadly around customer services performance and also some of the updates. So the areas I'll be looking to cover as part of the presentation today will be regarding an update following a report sent to Overview and Scrutiny in December 2017 with a focus on telephone performance, specifically that there was an average wait time during 2017 of 2 minutes 33 seconds and a high abandoned rate. This is also an opportunity to provide an update to Overview and Scrutiny regarding a report in July 2019 regarding the compliments, comments and complaints process, specifically focusing on the introduction of an online system in August 2019 to capture customer compliments and comments and complaints in one place. And I wish to provide some of the initial trends that have been identified so far. I'm also keen to update Overview and Scrutiny on some of the changes that we've experienced in customer operations since the report in 2017, including our refreshed customer strategy and the fact that customers is one of our 6 key strategic priorities as part of the corporate plan. So I wish to provide some updates on the journey of customer operations since 2017 and some of our future plans. So just by way of a visual journey of our customer services developments, between 2015 and 18, there was a number of wider sort of technical developments, if you will, across our customer directorate, including the merging of IT systems, one contact centre number, Skype for Business, and the Office 365 rollout. In 2018, we launched a refreshed customer strategy, started to deliver pop-up customer services from Shotley and Hadley libraries, as well as our customer access points in Stowmarket and Sudbury, and also provided assisted self-service in Hadley Library through the use of a freestanding tablet, as well as experiencing some improved performance and the start of a face-to-face satisfaction survey. In 2019, a corporate manager was recruited and I started in late February of 2019, and we digitised our feedback system, so compliments, comments and complaints, started to deliver the EU settlement scheme, providing face-to-face services for customers who needed support with accessing and applying for the right to remain in the UK as a result of Brexit. We also introduced a pilot telephone customer service survey and commenced work dual skilling our team members. So moving from them being skilled in either housing, council tax and benefits or general services to having 2 of those skills. It was important from our telephone survey to do this because we identified a high volume of customers that were looking to ask us multiple questions regarding different service areas. Therefore, dual skilling the team allows us wherever possible to resolve our customers' queries at the first point of contact rather than being transferred to different offices. We also undertook some visits of other councils to share best practice, such as Aylesbury Vale, Wigan and Redbridge, to help us to start scoping out our customer transformation programme. And we've also focused on using data and insight to help inform our decision making, as well as capturing the voice of our customer through forums, feedback and surveys. We conducted our first customer forums in December and January, with over 146 people attending, which consisted of members of the public as well as some of our town and parish councils. We also heat mapped over 1,000 user journeys as the forums specifically were looking to gain vital feedback on how our customers interact with our website. Following this work and some subsequent analysis, we've recruited an additional web coordinator to start with improving our website, and this role started in the last month. We've also recently recruited a customer access officer, looking at specific digital inclusion projects to help with delivering digital skills work across our districts and understanding the wider benefits for our customers for being online. In November 2019, we refreshed our customer access point in Stowmarket and implemented some self-service tablets and a new face-to-face satisfaction survey using a tablet for both Stowmarket and Sudbury. This has allowed us to gain additional feedback across those 2 areas. We also delivered in January of this year our first cohort of behavioural insight training to help us understand how we can use different behavioural insight techniques to communicate with our customers. We've digitised our freedom of information and environmental information regulation requests. And in late January, we also implemented a new telephone system called 8x8, which is cloud-based and has allowed us, especially since lockdown, to deliver a virtual contact centre without needing to be based in a physical location. This has allowed us to ensure that we could still provide valuable support to our customers during this time, as well as taking on additional service areas, such as the support of the Home But Not Alone telephone line, and also capturing requests for businesses reopening during the easing of lockdown also. So just moving on to some of our customer transformation programme. So we have a number of projects that are running concurrently and are reported through our customer transformation programme board. This is made up of a number of roles across the organisation and allows all customer related projects across the organisation to be reported into one board to ensure that we're collectively meeting our strategic customer priority. As part of that work, we continue to gain feedback from our customers both internally and externally to help shape future iterations of this work. To provide a quick overview, we've themed the projects of our customer transformation programme into these 3 areas. They're strategic, tactical and cultural. Our strategic projects are the overarching and underpinning strategies and activities, such as our work that will be commencing shortly around business process re-engineering, where we'll be looking at streamlining our processes, ensuring that they're simple and clear for customers, are easily accessible, and they make the best use of technology, such as automation. Strategic projects also include some of the work we're undertaking at the moment to scope out our digital skills work for those customers who wish to go online to access services and ensure that we're able to do so using community partners to help deliver some of this support work. Our tactical projects are the specific projects that will help us to deliver the change, such as the implementation of our 8x8 new telephone system, which has provided us with the opportunity to deliver a remote contact centre, the digitisation of some of our key processes, such as freedom of information and environmental information regulation requests, which not only allows customers to raise these requests online, but over time allows us to create a database so customers can search through some of those frequently asked questions rather than having to submit new requests. Also, following on from some of our web forums, a key trend that came out was that customers are really wishing to use services such as chatbots. And over the next few months, we'll be launching a pilot which considers automated telephony and chatbots for environmental services such as waste, so that customers can complete transactions such as renewing garden waste services using either automated telephone services and chatbots 24 hours a day. Some of our cultural projects are those that support with ensuring that we're creating and embedding a customer-centric culture across the organisation. And some of this work has included the launch internally of our customer charter, which ensures that we have a clear set of standards in relation to customer services expectations across the organisation, and also providing opportunities for upskilling officers in areas such as behavioural insight. So to provide an overview of some of the customer services performance following the 2017 report, I wanted to just share some of the high level updates for the last year. So in the last year, we've received over 132,000 calls, which represents a 14% decrease from last year. We've achieved an average answer time of 1 minute 37 seconds, which is a reduction of 56 seconds from 2017. And achieved an 87% answer rate, which is similar to last year's level. However, we are constantly looking to improve our performance. And so far this year, we've already achieved in April a 6% abandoned rate, an average wait time of 43 seconds, and over May and June, a 5% abandoned rate and an average answer time of 31 seconds. We've also responded to nearly 20,000 customer emails, which represents a 22% increase from 2018 and recognises that shift that customers are wishing to contact us more online. We have also supported nearly 7,000 customers across our face-to-face services in Sudbury, Stowmarket, Shotley and Hadley. However, this does represent a 25% decrease from last year. We continue to look for ways to improve our performance and ensure that we're providing customers with the very best levels of customer service. Something that's particularly important in that space is to ensure that we're capturing customer feedback, to ensure we understand how they feel about the services we provide, as this aids us to further transform some of the work that we're doing in our customer transformation programme and ensure that customers really are at the heart of everything we do. In 2019, we introduced a pilot telephone survey and surveyed 847 people. On average, they rated our service 9.9 out of 10. We'll be shortly reintroducing a survey to ensure that we can capture ongoing feedback about our telephone services, specifically focusing on the changes that we've made around dual skilling our officers so that we can understand how many of our customer inquiries are resolved at that first point of contact. Our satisfaction levels for face-to-face services have also been consistently over 9 out of 10 throughout the last few years, and we've received an 88% first point of contact resolution rate in our face-to-face services. We also wanted to get a better sense of how people felt about the services they receive through our face-to-face offer. So we implemented a touchscreen feedback tablet in November last year. And as part of the questions that we asked how likely our customers were to recommend the services we provide to friends and family through a Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score categorises customers in terms of whether or not they're a promoter of the service, neutral or a detractor. From that, you then minus those detractors away from the promoter's score, and it gives you a total score out of 100. Between November and February, we scored 65 from those results. Whilst that's good, and we understand that the UK average from a Customer Services Institute report in July 2019, that the UK average Net Promoter Score was 22, we are constantly looking for opportunities to improve our services, and I'll touch on some of the areas that we'll be looking at shortly. Lastly, we also introduced a website feedback button in December of last year as part of our website forum work. And this has shown that customers rate our pages on average 2.9 out of 5. As customers can provide individual feedback on the individual pages of our website, this provides us with an opportunity to weave this feedback into the work that we'll be shortly undertaking around improving our website to measure the impact of customer satisfaction over time as we are making those changes. Another key way in which we understand how customers feel about the services that we provide is through the recent implementation of our compliments, comments and complaints feedback system. This has really allowed us to capture all feedback in one place to ensure that we can identify the trends and lessons learned for greater service improvement as part of our customer transformation programme. Some of the key trends that we've identified so far is that whilst 54% of our complaints were not upheld, some of the ones that were really fell under contractor error at 41% and process error at 27%. For those that fell under contractor error, largely these were to do with things such as delayed or missed bins, and these can be resolved in 24 hours, and the waste team endeavour to inform customers through daily updates on our website to identify delays and help to better inform our customers when these things happen. But also our process improvement work that we'll shortly be undertaking around business process re-engineering will help us to better understand some of the processes from a customer perspective, and over time help to reduce the level of complaints that come through regarding process improvement required. We have also seen an increase in compliments over the time that we've introduced our feedback system, and I've included a couple of recent examples of our compliments to give you a sense of the types of trends that we see in our compliments. So the first one was to do with supporting a customer during COVID-19 with a council tax bill planning, and often our compliments are to do with where officers have shown empathy during difficult circumstances and provided valuable support and advice for areas such as council tax and housing. Over the last 3 months, we've also seen around 50% of our compliments related to the work of our waste collection crews and the support that they've been providing during the pandemic. So just to go into the performance update a little bit more regarding our telephone services. So we have seen a reduction in calls over the last year of 14%. And we have been dual skilling our team over the last 12 months to ensure that we can manage the call demand and also support customers with their multiple queries rather than having to transfer them to different officers. Whilst we have seen a similar abandon rate to 2018, as you can see, the most recent performance has shown that we're really making some strides in improving that. Some of our busiest times of the year that reflect some of the peaks that you can see in the graph are specifically around council tax billing period, where we see much higher volumes of calls. Also election periods where we see high volumes of calls. And in February, there was a real spike in calls to do with the storms that we experienced, and specifically customers wishing to inform us about repairs that were required as a result of damage that had been undertaken to fences, for example, during that time. As you can see, the call split by team, our general services take the most calls, so they're 40% of all of our calls. And this is predominantly down to the fact that often a caller has multiple questions and they don't sit neatly under those areas. But also they are responsible for manning areas such as public realm requests, environmental requests, and also general is where all of the calls have been manned for our COVID-19 Home But Not Alone response line, so that we were able to provide customers with support with things such as food, medication and social isolation during that time. And we'd taken over 900 calls during the last few months. Our council tax and benefits calls make up the second highest proportion of all of our workload, with 61% relating to council tax inquiries, such as direct debit payments or things such as applying for changes in circumstances around their council tax. And benefits also make up 25% of our council tax and money matters calls. And rent inquiries are the third highest, with 7% of all of our council tax and benefits calls. Housing make up the last area with 24% of our entire call volumes, and 61% of those are related to repairs and 17% related to gateway to home choice bidding. So in terms of our face-to-face services, as I mentioned, we have seen our face-to-face services demand decrease over the last 12 months by 25%. And the main reason that our customers come in to see us, and over 60% of those inquiries, relate to providing support with providing evidence or uploading information, filling in forms and viewing information online. And 88% of those who've come in to see us have said that we've been able to resolve their query at the first point of contact. Some of the feedback that we've been able to glean from our self-service tablet has been that people really appreciate the friendly and helpful nature of our team and the welcoming environment that we create across our customer access points. And also anecdotally, that since the implementation of our self-service tablets in Stowmarket, people find that uploading information themselves via the tablets is quick and easy to do. Therefore, we're currently undertaking some improvement work to ensure that we can support customers using community partnerships to provide more local support to help deliver digital skills training and support to customers who are not currently online or would like to improve their digital skills. And we look forward to presenting our phased approach to this work over the next few months. And hopefully you can see it takes into account the queries that we receive to these customer access points and the fact that people find working with the self-service tablets to upload information quick and easy to do. So what's next for customer services? So I hope you can see that we've undertaken some significant improvement work since 2017, not only to improve our performance, but also our services for customers and to ensure that we understand what's important to our customers, and also sharing some of our wider ambitions as part of the customer transformation programme, especially with regard to improving our website, implementing new digital systems, and also our call centre improvement work, and also our upcoming work on digital skills, business process re-engineering, and automated chatbots and telephone services pilots. We've been able to so far use these improvements to identify even more opportunities to improve our services and ensure that customers are at the very heart of everything we do. We've also recruited some key roles, such as our web coordinator additional role to help with web improvements, and our customer access officer to help with delivering the improvements and ensuring that we communicate, gain feedback, and use data and insight to ensure that we're effectively communicating with our customers, but also ensuring that nobody is left behind. So that's everything from me. Thank you very much, and I'll now open up to any questions.
Thank you very much indeed. That was an excellent presentation. We can see that there's been continuous improvement over the last 3 years, and we can also see that there was a good response to the COVID-19 emergency. So thank you for that. I'm now going to ask questions. I'm going to use roughly alphabetical order, but not necessarily starting at the top of the alphabet. So if I could take questions first from members, and any debate we will come to later on. So this is purely for questions of the officer. And I'm going to start with Councillor Lavinia Haddingham, please.
Thanks. Oh, that was a great presentation, Sam. Really excellent, and I'm just pleased to see that that things are improving. I haven't really got any specific questions. I just want to say well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Mary McLaren, please.
Sorry, having trouble with the video, but
We can hear you.
You can hear me. That's good.
Yes.
Sam, that was brilliant. In a time of bad news, that was really reassuring. Can I just ask about the charter? Is that actually now agreed, or are you developing that?
So it has been agreed, and we'll be looking to launch that externally over the next few months.
And presumably then we will get, as a committee, we will get a copy of that to have a look at?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Councillor David Muller.
Thank you, Chair. Again, Samantha, an excellent presentation. I was particularly interested in the number of complaints, the 402 complaints you mentioned, and you did show some of the breakdown of the higher ones. Would it be possible to see a list like of the entire number of complaints at all? That would be quite interesting, I think, for me personally.
Absolutely, I'd be more than happy to share that after this, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Sam. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Adrian Osborne, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I've got nothing but absolute delight to see the position that you had from the early days, when I can remember quite a lot of member complaints themselves about the way that the website was being tackled, and also the number of people that were getting in touch with Surrey Town Council, for instance, and our own district council. So I think the improvements have been absolutely marvellous, and I think what you've done is excellent. I can't say enough about it, and the thanks must go out, I think, from all members' perspective. I can't see any reasons for any problems with this, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Keith Scarf, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just wondering, accepting that the number of physical sort of face-to-face visits has gone down yet again. Are there any plans at all that you're aware of to reduce that opportunity, or are you planning to still continue with that opportunity? Because I think it's important that we do recognise that some people don't like doing it other ways, or are unable to do it other ways.
Yep, so I think there will always be a requirement to have some level of face-to-face support for our customers. I think what we're looking to undertake is some work to provide those customers as well with opportunities to go online, where that's something that they want to do and understand more about digital skills support. So we will be looking to share with members shortly a phased approach to that, but ultimately it will be looking at providing more local opportunities and working alongside some of our community partners to deliver more local services to customers who wish to access that type of support. So definitely we won't be sort of removing any face-to-face services.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just follow on from that, is the decrease in the face-to-face visits similar across all of the points of contact, or is there one or two of them that are going up or going down rapidly? Is it roughly similar across the board?
It's roughly similar across the board. I think more notable ones are Stowmarket and Sudbury. When we look at the sort of numbers from 2018 to 2019, Shotley have always had lower numbers, and I think they've seen 28 people across the whole of the 2 years we've been delivering there. But broadly, it is a similar picture across the board around a decrease.
Thank you. Councillor Terence Carter, please.
Oh, yes. Well, questions. I do have a question in regards to whether or not the term customer implies a matter of choice. I know this is a report on customer services, but if somebody's phoning about a repair to a house, I think they prefer the term constituents, because otherwise having to move to get the service is a bit extreme. I do also have to ask about whether or not the report still exists from 2018, where Mid-Suffolk Disability Forum was visited regarding the inaccessibility of the Stowmarket drop-in session. As far as I'm aware, no changes have been implemented, and we never got any feedback regards to how the access could be improved to go into the building and into the room. And last one as well, is regards if somebody is in a phone call and there's multiple issues that they have to raise, does that just count as a singular complaint, or are the multiple issues logged separately? So I wonder if that would actually have if say missed bin delivery happens at the same time as something else, or rather, would that just be one complaint, or would it be different complaints together? Other than that, loved the presentation, and thank you very much. But yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to answer those? So in terms of the work that we did with the Mid-Suffolk Disability Forum, we did engage them when we were undertaking the review work of our customer access point in Stowmarket to understand from their perspective what improvements could be made. I have engaged with the chair of that particular forum, and those improvements were made. To explain that, I think due to the fact that COVID-19 happened, we haven't been able to bring them back in to view all of the changes specifically, but Linda Hogarth is aware that those changes have been made, but more than happy to share some of the feedback separately with you if that's useful. But specifically, it was to do with things like signage, ensuring that there was appropriate wheelchair turning space, but we had actioned all of those particular areas. In terms of multiple issues being raised, so on the telephone, then all of those areas would be logged separately if they were requiring intervention. In terms of a complaint, it would be down to the customer if they wanted to raise that separately, or they wanted to kind of build it into one complaint, and we would just deal with those appropriately. The lessons learned, though, would be captured in the same way so that we can understand exactly what areas came back as a result of that.
I think that at some point the committee are hoping to visit the customer access point, so we will at that stage, I mean, after the restrictions have been lifted, we'll be able to see what changes have been made or perhaps have not yet been made and will be made. So I think that will be a useful visit in due course. Thank you. Councillor Sian Dawson, please.
Yes, thank you. That's an excellent presentation. The only thing I was sort of querying really was, I think you mentioned in one of the first slides that the call wait was 2 minutes 33 seconds, and then later on in the presentation you were talking about an abandonment of 14%. Now, is that really accurate across the whole year? Because you know, a lot of feedback I get from people is that they get through, but they never quite get to where, you know, where they want to set up a direct debit. So then they abandon the call. So I'm just sort of wondering to what extent, if that phone call is answered, you presume in your analysis here, we're sort of saying that, yes, we've dealt with that when actually we haven't in reality. Are we able to get that information?
So
how many issues are resolved as to how many phone calls are actually made, as opposed to how many are abandoned?
So abandoned call specifically relates to when a customer has not got through to somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
So they've abandoned the call, yep. In terms of customers that have not had their queries resolved regarding things like direct debits, we do undertake, as all of our calls are recorded, we undertake call recording analysis to understand the services that have been provided. And that's why we're looking to also start this telephone survey to see how many of those queries were resolved at the first point of contact for our telephone service, and hopefully that will provide more information around those customers who don't feel that they've been supported fully on the phone. If there are any instances of that you wish to share, then I'm more than happy to look into those cases as well for you.
Well, I just wondered, it's just like, for instance, I just get the impression that people are fed up with calling in, but then of course the numbers will have gone up because of COVID-19, so which might then flatten this year's figures out. So it looks like we're trundling along quite well when in fact people aren't making contact. And I certainly, I know myself, I've tried to set up things, but I just wondered whether we're not quite getting the figures, the real figures, because of the COVID. And I just think people are not really getting through. And I'm just surprised the figures are as low as you're saying they are.
So some of the figures were not including the COVID-19 pandemic. They were kind of over a much longer period of time. But more than happy to share when we start some of the the new telephone survey, some of the results that we get back from that. In terms of customers calling us, we still see, as I mentioned, over 132,000 calls a year, so it's still quite a significant number of customer contacts into our services.
Thank you.
Yeah, my understanding from people I've talked to about setting up direct debits, the problem isn't with the call, it's with the caller's own confidence about doing what needs to be done. And so I think some who I've talked to have abandoned it. They've got all the guidance that they need, but then they've thought, well, this sounds a bit complicated to me, I'm not going to do it. And I think that's where the community projects and helping people over that hurdle of confidence. A lot of it, I think, is confidence rather than really.
Well, I'll give you an example. I had someone actually only a couple of weeks ago who's been applying since February for a garage to set up a direct debit. They can't. They've emailed to customer services because we have it for council tax. Then it says to set up a direct debit, you have to talk to someone. Because of the COVID, nobody's actually there. So they're still not doing it, and they get apparently called these sort of every 3-month letters, which is more cost to us. But I just thought, oh gosh, that's just a typical sort of thing, and it must go on all the time, really.
Well, perhaps that's one to take outside of the meeting and to have a look at.
But that's why I was wondering, really, as to what extent many of these calls are abandoned and how many are really actually followed through to the end. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, it might be worth having a look at that, or somebody to have a look at that to see if that is something which might have happened to other people, but it might, there may be very few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we have got to the end of questions, unless Councillor Carter, I think, still got his hand up. Do you have another question, or can it be included in the debate? Councillor Carter.
My apologies to my system. It's showing as lowered. I'll try lowering it again. Having a bit of issues. I apologise.
Right, and Councillor Grandin. Sorry, I hadn't come to you. So if we could, Councillor Grandin, please.
Thank you. Yes, excellent presentation, and I'm really pleased to see how the system's improving. As you're aware, though, there was an incident about a week and a half ago where I contacted Sarah because of an outage of the telephone system. I had a number of people contacting me. Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Sorry. Where I had a number of people contacting me because the whole telephone system has gone down. So I believe this was an unusual situation, but has it been rectified, and will that has it been examined so that this can't happen again, or hopefully it won't happen again? Could you give me some feedback on that, please?
Yep, absolutely. So yes, unfortunately, we did experience an outage of a couple of hours of our contact centre system. It is the only time that's happened, and unfortunately, it was to do with our provider 8x8, and it happened across the country. So it wasn't specifically focused on our services, but all 8x8 services across the country. It has now been rectified, and we have been working with our 8x8 telephone provider to ensure that that doesn't happen again, but also ensure that we have other plans in case there was a longer outage around how we would provide those telephone services. But it was up and running within a couple of hours, and I can only apologise that any customers struggled to get through to us during that time. What we were able to do was anyone who was getting in contact via email, we were calling them back via Skype or Teams, just to ensure that we could still communicate with customers if they were able to contact us via email. But yes, apologies that did happen. It is the only time that has happened, and we're confident that it won't happen again.
Thank you. I have another question as well, if I may. The face-to-face contact, I'm glad that it seems to be successful with regard to Hadley, and in fact I am surprised that as many people do attend the service as they do, which I'm pleased about. I think it's a very good service at Hadley Library. So that's great news. The statistics you provided regarding the reduction in the number of people using services in general, face-to-face, does that include this year since COVID, or is that prior to that? So they were reducing anyway?
It is prior, so I didn't include any of the impacts of COVID on our face-to-face numbers, as I thought it would be disproportionate given that we were in a lockdown period. Yes. Absolutely.
Good. And so do you assume that those people would have been dealt with by telephone or other means?
Yes. So we were supporting customers who were struggling to, for example, complete forms, and we were talking them through how to do that on our telephone lines. It did mean that some of our call handling times were slightly longer. So occasionally we would spend an hour on the phone to someone just to make sure that we were able to support them in the best way possible to complete those forms. But obviously that gave us a sense of reassurance that they were able to do so, and we were able to see that process through to the very end with our customers. So yes, we were able to provide support to customers on the phone where they've not been able to come in to see us.
Great. I'm sure that was a great comfort and help to them. Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you, Councillor Granton.
Thank you. Councillor McCraw, you've got your hand up. Is that an accident? All right.
No, I do, Chair. It's not an accident for once, I'm glad to say, and I will take my hand down. First of all, I'd just like to thank Sam for a really encouraging presentation. The journey referred to in slide 3 is one that many members will recall when Overview and Scrutiny first started looking at this subject in its particular, and in terms of customers' complaints and compliments, and also in terms of phone response times. And I think a drop from 2 minutes 37 seconds to figures of below a minute is a remarkable one. And I appreciate that people have got issues about the use of the word customer as opposed to resident or member of the electorate, whatever. Fundamentally, though, in experience, organisations that have a customer-centred focus, regardless of whether those people have the choice of going elsewhere, it's the very focus of those people as individuals, as customers. We treat them as though they do have a choice because we value them anyway, regardless of whether they could or can't go somewhere else. It's a point of an attitude, and I think that's the crucial point to get across here. Now, all this stuff has been done. I do have some questions involved in this. I'd like to ask Sam, though. We've seen an approach to a public face, the way that the council officers and staff can deal with the general public, and they're one part of that public face. Members are the other part of a public face of the council, and I'd just like to ask Sam, if this is not a static process, what thoughts have been given to member involvement in keeping this going forward, to bringing members into the process of improving customer service as a whole?
Thank you. So I know you've mentioned this before, and I feel really passionately about ensuring that our members feel really engaged with all the changes in customer services. I would like to take that one away just to think about that a little bit more, just to ensure that we have that we do engage you. I know that we've recently done a customer briefing to members, and I think that's a nice way to engage members in some of the developments, but also some more kind of informal ways to do that. So I will take that away as a really serious point, because I completely agree. It is absolutely, crucial to ensure that you are engaged throughout all of this process as key kind of extensions of our customer services support, really. So yes, thank you for that.
Can I give a supplementary on that, Chair?
Certainly, yes.
Well, the reason I mention this is that very much, I suspect, from hearing the other members' questions and from the questions I suspect that will come up in debate, is that it's very easy for us to give anecdotal evidence on individual cases. But of course, Sam here is presenting an overall picture based upon a proportion of statistics, and some means of communicating these anecdotal pieces of evidence so that Sam can then take them. If we go through every example, for example, today, that any of us might have come across in our own work experience in our wards, I suspect we're going to be putting Sam on, one, a spot she can't answer in individual circumstances, two, somewhere where she possibly shouldn't be answering on individual circumstances, and three, we might end up going in circles. I just add that because I think it's important not to get overly focused on the specific, where we can't control it and Sam can't necessarily answer it, but to deal with the general.
Thank you.
Chair, may I just
Yes,
interrupt?
please do. Yes.
Sam, I think you might still be sharing your screen.
Oh, apologies.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
I thought I'd turned that off. I think it was a bit slow on the uptake. Apologies for that.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's just so for public viewing, people can see what's going on. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Grandin, you still have your hand raised.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise I did.
So are there any hands raised anywhere now? No.
No, Chair. I think people have asked the members have asked their questions. So
right. Thank you very much. So can we now move on to a debate? Can I ask for comments now from members, please? And I'll go in a completely different order, somewhat at random. Councillor David Muller, do you have any comments you want to enter into the debate?
No comment at this stage. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Osborne.
Councillor Osborne, can you hear us or are you on mute?
We'll come back to
Councillor Osborne.
Councillor Grandin, would you like to make any comment or enter into
Yes,
the
thank
debate?
you. Thank you. I was pleased to hear in one of your comments or answers to questions that the face-to-face service, although it's reducing in need, that there are no plans to withdraw that service. I do think that's an important service to have available to customers and residents. And I know some of the older people in our community find face-to-face service an important part of what we offer, and they're not so confident with the alternatives. Although obviously we have at Hadley and elsewhere got the screen there for people to use. But I just wanted to say I'm glad that that is something that you're planning to retain, and I hope that's going to be ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Haddingham.
Thanks. No, I haven't really got anything extra to say. I want to echo what Catherine said. I think the face-to-face, we are going to have to keep going with that, even in a very small way. But I think it's all good stuff. And yeah, well done again.
Thank you very much. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Chair. Sam, I just want to comment on the dual skilling. All of us have suffered from ringing into organisations and being passed from pillar to post. I think that is excellent and well done to developing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Keith Scarf.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean, just like the previous speaker, I think the dual skilling aspect is one that's really critical. Otherwise, you do get passed from pillar to post. I'd like to say that I think excellent progress has been made since 2017 with the team. And it's important that whilst we recognise the changes in the way that our residents contact us, that we do continue to operate that face-to-face system. I just think of my 91-year-old mother who would be unable to access technology, even if given the training, frankly, and therefore that one-to-one face-to-face is so necessary, and it's something that councils, when they look at, and I can remember when we had the different format at Ipswich Street in Stowmarket, we decided to abandon that because of the cost per visit. There's always more than a physical cost per visit, and I think it's really reassuring to know that we're continuing to operate that service, even if its need is reducing. And I'm also pleased that the telephone operators are able to offer assistance to residents with complicated requirements and needs, and devote that time to them, because quite often when you phone another public body, they really don't have the time to devote that to you. And I suspect that the other means of accessing our customer services are enabling us to spend more time with those who particularly need help on the telephone. So well done, Samantha and the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor McCraw.
Yeah, I'm just really sort of happy to see this this approach having come to fruition over the period of time that we've been looking at it. This is more of an observation. I've been banking for many years with one particular bank, and they consistently come in the top 3 of customer service organisations throughout the country. And this is universal ever since they've been in operation, and that's First Direct. It's a phone banking service that also uses online, but on the sheer matter of personality, friendship offered over the phone, it's your bank, but you're not expecting them to be nice to you, and they are. And I know this sounds really, I have been saying this all my life. I must confess, my life has been spent largely in the matter of customer service, and smiling at people, smiling down the phone, effectively smiling through the internet wherever you can. I cannot stress how important that is. Not only does it make the process easier for the end user, whatever we might call said end user, whether it be customer, resident, constituent, whatever, that person is a person. They need to be appreciated as such. And here's the funny thing. The people on our end of the phone, ourselves included, we have a better experience out of it simply by having that warmth and that empathy, which was Sam referred to. It's so important that this stuff can be more enjoyable, more productive, because it's an attitude, it's an approach, and it's something that can be, if not enjoyable, certainly a lot more bearable. And that's typified by my experiences with that particular organisation. I have noticed that it's a point that's spreading across customer service organisations of all sorts. I've even had friendly conversations with the AA and insurance companies. This was not considered possible only, 5-10 years ago. So I hope that we can bear in mind what the good experiences we get from customer services elsewhere and bring them to bear upon our own services. I think that's the crucial point. This is a matter of attitude, and it's to everybody's benefit to act this way. I think that's the most crucial point I would stress to members, to the public, and obviously to all our officers. And I have to say, Sam, since she came into post last year, has absolutely exemplified that approach. And I can only commend her and her team and the people on the other end of the phone, some of whom I know, and the whole process has been a positive one. And guess what? COVID-19 proved an unhappy opportunity for us to prove just how responsive and helpful we could be. That is a tribute to, I have to say, both Babergh and Mid Suffolk.
Thank you, Councillor McCraw. Yes, it gives members confidence as well that we know that there is a good and reliable and friendly customer services team there backing everything up. So it makes our life better as well. Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Yep, sorry for the delay. I was just researching changing my bank. Yes. whilst saying the team is great and we are doing well, I still have to have, considering many of my constituents, many of parish clerks I have spoken to, and residents who have the sticking point and a personal gripe against the term of customer. When we are representing people, and if it is, no matter how we intend to use the word or how we meant to use the word, it is down to how the person, how the people we represent take it. We have to be mindful of others and not just what we mean by it. So, customer services, the customer service mindset, very important. But when we are talking about residents and constituents, if it could offend other people by being referred to as a customer, I'd still prefer to alter it, even if it's just in a single report if we can't do it as a council. But other than that, the dual skills, wonderful. From what I could hear from presentation, when not being screamed at by a toddler, wonderful. So yeah, well done everyone on how things are improving.
Thank you. Councillor Sian Dawson.
Yes, well, I don't want to embarrass myself, so I should just sort of whittering on. I'll just say thank you. It's been very interesting, and I think there's any more to add that anyone else has said.
Thank you very much. Councillor Osborne, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I am here.
Right. Do you have anything to add?
No, well, only that I can remember going back a very long time now when the customer services setup was a little bit more face to face, and I remember memories of confusion by some of our constituents on certain subjects which have been well and truly rectified over the last few years. So I'm all in, I'm in absolute awe of what the work has been done by Sam and the team. I think it's, the figures represent themselves, and as from Councillor Carter's remarks about whether they be called customers or what, that has been brought up on numerous occasions by members at committees. So anyway, from all of that, thank you, Sam, and your team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any suggestions by way of a recommendation? I mean, we've said such things as, I mean,
Excuse me, Chair. Maybe just ask members again if anybody have any more to say on the subject before we move on to recommendations, please.
Oh,
thanks. Sorry.
Does anybody else have anything to add to the debate before we look at recommendations?
Just one point.
Yes, please.
And it was in reference to Councillor Scarf's elderly mother. I also have an elderly mother, and I'd just like to say that we shouldn't categorise any group of people according to their IT skills simply on the basis of age. I have a similarly aged parent who can be described as a silver surfer, has a variety of electronic devices at her disposal, not quite as many as a modern councillor, but still she's more than happy to fly around the internet at any available opportunity. All right, I will admit, occasionally with mixed results, but the attitude is there. So we shouldn't just categorise people in terms of an age group. There are going to be younger people that have other actual access issues that we should consider in the same group as the one that Councillor Scarf is referring to. It's not the age or anything else or any particular other subcategory. It's the actual ability or desire to do so. So Councillor Scarf's point is well made. It just shouldn't be confined to one particular group.
Thank you. And also the affordability of the device that people feel that they need is necessary.
Or as many of us have discovered, sometimes it's bandwidths.
Yes. Anyway, does anybody else have any comment to make before we look to recommendations? No, thank you. Has anybody got suggestions for putting into a recommendation?
Well, I mean, I was asked a question by a member of this as to why there was no report today, and I explained the circumstances. And broadly speaking, we've been looking at this, we've been monitoring this process, as mentioned by Sam, since 2017, in various aspects of it, and it's an ongoing process. So the real question before the committee is what level of continued reporting, updating or presentations does this committee require? And if it does require anything, when does it require it? And I think that's very much a question for the committee, because this is an ongoing process. It's not going to stop, nor should it. The question is, have the committee as such taken it as far as we can, or is there more we can add? Can we still add value? This is the key point. And that really is the matter for the chair and the committee.
Well, yes. I mean, do members generally think a visit to the customer access points would still be a useful visit?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I feel we should, by way of introduction to the any sort of recommendation or proposal, perhaps thank the corporate manager for her presentation and perhaps commend the work of the whole of the customer services team and note the significant improvements in the last 3 years, because they have been significant. The whole customer service response has changed completely in the last 3 years, largely down to the corporate manager, but also all of the staff within that team. Councillor Scarf, you've got your hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, well, I would echo that. I think that it would be useful when it's possible for us to actually do it under the COVID-19 current circumstances, to actually visit the customer access points. It was something that we determined earlier in the year was a good idea, and I don't think it's any less of a good idea now than it was then. In regards of how this committee looks at this issue in the future, I think things have moved on so quickly since 2017 that actually it would be useful if we just had maybe a yearly quick update from Samantha and her team regarding the level of calls, regarding the response times and that kind of thing, so we can just monitor for our own assurance, I think, and for our residents' assurance that things are still moving in the right direction. That tremendous strides have been made, but I think we want to see that progress continues, and also as councillors monitor the way that our residents actually contact our 2 local authorities as well. So I think maybe we could have a further slide presentation in a year's time. I think that would be tremendously useful. I'd like to see that as part of the recommendation, Chair, and be happy to propose that. Thank
you. I see there are nods around. Councillor Muller.
Thank you, Chair. No, I would totally concur with what Councillor Scarf has said. I'm happy to second his proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Grandon.
Yes, I'd be happy to support Councillor Scarf there too. I think this is such an important area because everything we've had the presentation on today is the public face of the council. And so it's of such central importance really to everything that we do. The website, the calls, everything that goes on there is actually, along with us ourselves, representing the council to the public. So I think it's so vital that this is as best as we can ever get it at every stage. So yes, I think it's important that it's on the agenda to be regularly visited so that we can keep it to a standard that we can be proud of, because it is so central to everything that we do. Everything that we do is represented by this public face. So yeah, I think it's very important. Thank you.
I believe I see an officer hand raised. Is that
hello?
Sarah?
Yeah, hello, Councillor Wellham. It's Sarah Wilcock. Yes, I just wanted to pick up on the comments that you've been raising with respect to hearing something back in a year's time. Whilst absolutely we would be more than happy to bring further updates to you, I am just conscious that with regard to our quarterly performance monitoring, quite a bit of the information that you're referring to in terms of volume of calls, progress that we're making in customer satisfaction is reported already on a quarterly basis. So, you know, we can provide a summary of that at the end of the year, but just wondered whether there's something perhaps a little bit more specific that you would like us to cover, rather than the sort of the generalist overview of performance that we do report already on a quarterly basis that's available to everybody.
Thank you very much. Does Councillor McCraw?
Well, it's just answering the point that Sarah has just made, is that obviously one of the principles we've operated on over the last few years is to avoid duplication of effort. Those quarterly performance reviews and the key performance indicators appear in the Cabinet papers every quarter. And in fact, they're absolutely vital for all aspects of the council, not least customer service. So I recommend them to anybody that has a spare 15, 30, 2 or 3 hours, whatever, to go through on a quarterly basis. They really are helpful. Question is, where can we do something that isn't already being done? And I think that is very much the point that the committee should address.
Is it more to do with feeling confident and seeing customer services face to face in a meeting? Is that what people want to see? I mean, I fully accept what Sarah has said, that all of the data is there, the statistics. Is there something beyond the statistics that that people want to see? Councillor Osborne.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a small point, and a very small point, and it does cause confusion at access points. Now, Sam has identified them as access points between Stowmarket and Sudbury. However, there are a lot of people that comes out, and even with our town council, they use the word advice centres. They are access points. That's just a very small point, and hopefully that can be rectified at some point. Other than that, yeah, I would go along with what the position of Keith just mentioned, Councillor Keith Scarve, and that is that we do have a problem at times with face-to-face stuff, and I think a lot of our I shouldn't say customers, a lot of our constituents do hopefully look at the points that they can actually get things addressed as we've been doing now, and they like to see, obviously statistics is the only thing really that you can show that there's been improvements or there's been a lowering of the standards, but again, I've got no other comments. Thank you, Keith.
So, I mean, the point that Councillor McCaw raised is if we had a paper or a presentation, how can we add value? Is it a presentation for information? Is it a written presentation in the form of an information bulletin? But whatever it is, in whatever format, how will it help? Councillor Scarfe.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I don't want to make undue work for the officers, but I do feel that the way that we've received the presentation today in terms of trends of how people contact us and how we deal with it is actually a far more useful format specifically for councillors to understand, and perhaps the quarterly reports that go to Cabinet. An information bulletin might be the way forward at the next meeting, and I'd be quite happy if that was the way forward, because I think that that would address the issues and would enable us just to see the continued progress that we all expect that this section will actually make in delivering services for both councils. And so I'm quite happy for an information bulletin to be the way forward, as I think that's a good way for Scrutiny to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. So would that be an information bulletin when all the facts and figures of the next full year have been can be aggregated? So would that be, say, in around July 2021?
Yes, thank you, Chair, if that's possible.
Councillor McCraw.
Well, actually, I think Councillor Scarf has just hit the nail on the head. Today's presentation, Sam, you've just made more work for yourself, was absolutely what we wanted to see, what we needed to see, provided the broad overview, did so in a reasonable length of time. I would think that what we're really suggesting is that, yes, the information, the hard facts, some figures are good, but we get those on a quarterly basis. But this presentation was, well, I would say from my point of view, this was the best thing we've seen on the subject for some time, and that we would like a repeat performance. Is that all right with you, Sam? I mean, I don't know if Sarah feels differently and that we're asking a lot of you, but on the other hand, you're obviously passionate about it. That passion needs to be communicated, and this would be a good forum for that to take place. I think that in itself is the value we're looking for.
Thank you, Councillor McGraw. I wonder if I could just jump in there, Councillor Wellham. Would certainly be more than happy to bring back that summary in a way that has obviously resonated with yourselves today. I think one of the things that I was sort of reflecting on, and particularly hearing from all of your comments, is definitely the reassurance and confidence in terms of our face-to-face model moving forwards. And you know, what I'm hearing from yourselves is exactly as we have talked about at the briefing recently and as part of our management team meetings, in terms of how do we continue to support our customers in a face-to-face environment, but equally supporting those that can get online to go online, and reflecting back the many positives that gives to our residents across the two districts. So I do wonder whether something for us to particularly focus on, perhaps in an update, is just around that face-to-face element. Sam has confirmed that is something that we are going to be looking at over the next few months, particularly thinking about how we've worked in partnership with voluntary organisations over the last few months in supporting communities as a response of COVID. And that's something that we really want to build on with our customer face-to-face model. So in terms of we can certainly bring back a summary of what you've heard today, but perhaps with a particular emphasis around our face-to-face customer services would be particularly helpful.
Yes, that sounds good. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, having just emphasised about the face-to-face benefits, I would welcome a yearly report with a face-to-face relationship with the customer services team. I think it's been most helpful today, and the personal touch and the personal presentation enhanced all the figures that were being presented. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Grandon.
Yes, I must apologise. I should have asked this question before because it's not quite relevant to what this point of the meeting. So I apologise for my timing. But libraries and so on are now open, I believe. So I'm just wondering, are the face-to-face meeting, have they now resumed, the face-to-face pop-ups and so on? Have they now resumed?
So just to answer that question, the libraries have opened for a select and collect service. So they have asked that we do not provide services in those locations at present, just due to the restrictions, and we are working with the libraries. We haven't opened our face-to-face services just because we are undertaking this work to look at how we will deliver those in the best way, taking into account some of the digital skills work that we also want to deliver. However, where we have needed to provide emergency appointments to customers, we have done so and will continue to do so until we are kind of looking at the sort of broader plans around our face-to-face services over the coming months.
And so, may I just ask further, will you be making a sort of publicised announcement as to when they will be back into normal service then?
We will be looking to share that, yes, absolutely, in due course, and we will make sure that that is communicated clearly to everybody externally as well, our customers as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see no hands raised, but if I can summarise what I think people have been saying, and then if somebody would like to pick it up as a proposal and somebody second it, that would be great. The notes I have here are that we thank the corporate manager for her presentation and commend the work of the customer services team, noting significant improvements in the last 3 years, that we ask for a visit to be arranged when it is safe to do so to customer access points, and we request a presentation to update the committee in 12 months' time, focusing on face-to-face contacts. Is that the sort of thing you have in mind, Councillor Scarf?
I think you've summed that up very well, Chairman. I would like to propose that.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Muller, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, happy to second. Happy to second.
You. So are you happy then that we do a roll call to by way of a vote for this, please? So that being the case, yes, I'll ask the governance officer to conduct the roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. I do apologise if you can hear my dogs in the background. I think the post has been delivered. I do apologise for that. Right, so I will do a roll call in alphabetic order, and if you can please reply with for, against or abstain. Thanks. Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Dawson.
For.
Councillor Grandin.
For.
Councillor Hedingham.
For.
Councillor McCraw.
For.
Councillor McLaren. Councillor McLaren, are you on mute?
It's going, oh, dear God.
Councillor McLaren. I think you're on mute again.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Muller.
For.
Councillor Osborne.
For.
Councillor Scarf.
For.
And Councillor Wellham.
For.
And that is unanimous, and so that's carried.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much indeed, Samantha, for your presentation. That was great. Thank you. And thanks for answering all our questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Can we now move on to item 9 on the agenda, which is the forthcoming decisions list? Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the forthcoming decisions list? Is there anything on there that you feel should be brought forward as an item for scrutiny? No comments? So we will note the forthcoming decisions list, and we'll move on to the agenda item of the work plans. So agenda item 10 is the Babergh Overview and Scrutiny Committee work plan for 2020-21, and we need to add as the August item on the Babergh work plan the August item from the Mid-Suffolk work plan, which is agenda item 11, and we're proposing that that would be a joint meeting. So the same two items, 20th of August, and we move that or include that into the Babergh work plan.
Could you specify, Chair, which items those are?
Those items are planning enforcement review of service transformation work, and that will be presented by the Chief Planning Officer, and the future delivery model for public realm, which will be presented by the Assistant Director for Environment and Commercial Partnerships. And we've put that in there because the public realm delivery model will be going to, I think it's Cabinet, is it?
Yeah, September.
Yeah. So are you happy that we...
Well, I from the point of view of adding that, making it a joint meeting, I believe that would be the best thing to do. It's a matter that affects both councils, and meeting jointly makes sense. And as far as the Babergh members are concerned, I hope they'd agree.
Henriette, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, Chair. I'm sorry, I'm going to confuse matters a little bit. You skipped an item on the agenda, the review of the work of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
You would need to let members of the public know that you have removed that item, or it has been agreed to remove that item from the agenda. I do apologise, and then we can return to the work plans.
Yes, okay. Yes, item 8 on the agenda was the review of the work of the Overview and Scrutiny Committees for 2019-20. This item has been withdrawn after the agenda was published, as the chairs of both Overview and Scrutiny Committees decided that a different format for this review would be considered. So I apologise for that. We have dealt with item 9 and we're in the middle of items 10 and 11. So if we can now return to item 10, which is the Babergh work plan. Councillor McCraw.
Well, this harks back to both, if we are agreed that we're going to do a joint meeting in August, but it does relate both to the review of Overview and Scrutiny, which isn't taking place in this meeting. But I'd like to ask if all members have had an opportunity to examine and to read the annual report of either Babergh Overview and Scrutiny or Mid-Suffolk Overview and Scrutiny. That appears in the council papers for this week's meetings, tomorrow at Babergh and Thursday, I think, at Mid-Suffolk. If you haven't, it is a summary of the entire year's work, a very difficult year for both Mid-Suffolk and Babergh's Overview and Scrutiny, mostly meeting jointly. And all I was going to say was this, is I'd like to draw your particular attention to the thanks contained in the forwards. The thanks are given to officers, to members of the council and cabinet members, particularly to the members of these two committees, without whom none of this could have happened. We've all been working together for the whole of the year in very difficult circumstances. So on my personal note, I'd like to take the opportunity of thanking members of the committee for everything they've done during this year. But I think I'd give particular thanks to a couple of officers, to which Henriette Holloway, our Governance Support Officer, and Jan Robinson, our Deputy Monitoring Officer, who keeps us on the straight and narrow. So I'd like you all to say thank you to both Henriette and to Jan and to officers in general, and also pat yourselves on the back.
Yes, yes, thank you very much indeed. Yes, yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm sure we all agree that we have been extremely well supported by officers, and more recently also by Mandy and Robert, who have had a role to play in virtual meetings. And
quite correct, yes.
So thank you to them as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't forget those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, got to remember the vice chairs as well, and my co-chair over at Mid-Suffolk, Keith. All right. I mean, you know, I would mention everybody by name, but those three would pretty be annoyed if I didn't.
Well, you'll obviously be annoyed if I don't mention you by name. Then.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem, is it? I'll do it myself.
And thank you to the vice chairs. So Henriette, you've got a hand raised.
I'm sorry, Chair, I forgot to lower it. I do apologise. I was just going to remind you of that item. So, but thank you very much for your praise.
Thank
it's much
you.
appreciated.
Well deserved.
So can we confirm the agenda items 10 and 11, the work plans?
I so
So
propose.
we've noted those with those additions and amendments, and if that is, and we can move on to the end of the meeting.
Certainly can, Chair.
Yeah. So thank you very much. That concludes the meeting then, and the date and time of the next meeting will be a joint meeting, and it will be on Monday, the 24th of August 2020, and will commence at 9:30. So thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you, Keith.
Chair.
Bye.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.